you jump up and down.
Finding mistakes in Peppa Pig and sharing them with you guys is something I love doing. Since it's almost 2026, I've decided to compile all the Peppa Pig mistakes I've found so far, and I expect you to watch this video until the end. Did you spot these mistakes in Peppa Pig? In the episode Recycling, we can see a few drawings hanging above Peppa. However, in the next frame, they are now above the stove. They changed positions in one frame. Still in the same episode, if we take a look at the fridge, notice that there are now recycling boxes on the right side of the fridge. How is that even possible when in all other episodes, there was a wall there? In the episode Daddy Pig's Birthday, we can see that there is a window on the left and on the right of the graph. But when Peppa calls and Daddy Rabbit picks up the phone, notice that the window is now completely gone. In the episode, The Baby Piggy. In this scene, a flag can be seen at the top of the shed. However, in the next frame, it disappears out of nowhere. In the episode, George's Friend, something weird is about to happen in the scene where Daddy Pig is spinning the playground spinner. If we zoom in on Danny Dog, we can see that he's now playing the role of the pole in the middle. In the episode Best Friend, we can see that the door is open, but in the next frame, it mysteriously closes by itself. In the scene where Evie comes home for the first time, we can notice her unique heart-shaped spot on one side of her cheek. However, a few frames later, when she turns her head, the heart-shaped spot disappears out of nowhere. Still in the same scene, when Daddy Pig is holding Evie Pig, watch how his arm goes through her face. Another mistake can be found in the scene where the pig family walks to the door. Here we can see a picture frame of the whole pig family, including Evie. But how is that even possible? It's the first time she arrives home. At the beginning of the episode Sleepover, we can see that the door is opened outwards. However, in the next scene, we can see that the door is now opened inwards. In the episode Lunch, when Peppa is eating her lunch, we can see that her fork appears out of nowhere. Where did it even come from? Also, when we pause this scene at the right moment, notice how Peppa has pierced her lip with her fork. In the episode Doctors, when Pedro's dad arrives, we can see that he's wearing a blue bow tie. However, a few frames later, his bow tie disappears out of nowhere. In the episode Fun Run, a whiteboard can be seen behind Daddy Pig, but in the next scene, the whiteboard vanishes out of nowhere. In the episode The Tooth Fairy, when Peppa is about to go upstairs, we can see that there's nothing under the staircase. However, in other episodes, a door is always present. In the episode Funny Music, if we take a look at the box next to Mummy Pig, we can see that there's nothing in there, but seconds later, a manual appears out of nowhere. In the episode Evie, in the scene where Daddy Pig opens the door, notice how Grandpa Pig's nose is sticking through the other side of the door. In the episode Parachute Jump, Mummy Pig is planning to do a parachute jump. In this scene, Mommy and Daddy Pig get onto Miss Rabbit's plane. When we take a closer look at Miss Rabbit, notice how her ears are cut off on the airplane glass. They're supposed to bend. In the episode Gardening, we can see that Peppa is holding a ball, but in the next frame, the ball is suddenly gone. In the episode Babysitting, we can see that Mommy Pig is holding a purse, but in the next frame, she doesn't. Still in the same episode, when we slow down this scene, watch how Peppa has no arm. This is so cursed. In this scene in the episode Recycling, we can see that the pinboard is above the trash can, but in the next frame, it's suddenly above the kitchen countertop. In the episode Daddy Pig's Birthday, we can see that Peppa is hanging a yellow balloon at the edge of the branch. However, a few seconds later, it's suddenly in the middle of the branch. In the episode Not Very Well, Daddy Pig is pouring milk into his bowl. When we take a look at the jug, we can notice that the milk is at the same level as it was before. In the episode The Tooth Fairy, we can see a sink behind Peppa and George. A few frames later, there is no sink behind them. In the episode Very Hot Day, I want you to pay close attention to the door and the wall. Later in the same episode, a faucet appears out of nowhere. It wasn't there at the beginning of the episode. In the episode Granny Pig's Chickens, we can notice that George and Peppa put their suitcases on the ground and jump on the bed. However, when the scene shifts, you see that their suitcases are no longer there. In the episode Nature Trail, I want you to focus on Daddy Pig. In this scene, we can see he's not wearing a backpack, but moments later, he's suddenly wearing a backpack. In the episode The Dentist, we can see that there is mouthwash in the glass, but when George gets onto the chair, watch how the mouthwash disappears out of nowhere. In the episode Mr. Scarecrow, if we take a look at the inside of the box, we can see that it's full of seeds. When Grandpa Pig starts planting the seeds, notice how the box is half empty. However, in the next frame, the box is now full again. In the same episode, when Grandpa Pig takes his shovel while chasing the birds away, his arm glitches through Peppa's face. In the episode At the Beach, Peppa is taking towels, buckets, a ball, and spades out of the basket. But right after Mommy Pig applies sunscreen to George and Peppa, watch how everything magically teleports back into the basket. In the episode The Outback, Daddy Kangaroo is grilling corn. We can see 5 pieces of corn on the grill, but when he serves them on a plate, watch how there are now 6 pieces. In the episode Once Upon a Time, we see a red toy car under the cat drawing. A few frames later, when Mommy Pig enters the room, the toy car disappears out of nowhere. In the episode The Lifeboat, we can see a hatch on the boat, but when everyone is standing on the deck of the boat, watch how the hatch is no longer there. In the episode The Outback, Mommy Pig puts wooden sticks down on the ground and kicks them a bit backwards. Here, we can see they are still there, but when Peppa comes into the frame, watch how they suddenly disappear. In the episode The Movie Night, we can see 3 pillows on the couch. However, a few frames later, the pillows are suddenly gone. In the episode Viking Day, this scene shows Granny Wolf's cup as blue. However, a few seconds later, her cup magically turns red. In the episode Grandpa Pig's Greenhouse, Grandpa Pig is making a salad. In the scene where he serves the salad to everyone invited, look at the bowl. It's still full. This doesn't make any sense. In the episode Canyon Country, Mommy Pig wears blue boots. However, a few seconds later, her shoes change color to purple. In the episode Daddy's Movie Camera, Daddy Pig plugs his camera into the bottom part of the TV. But when the scene zooms in, the cable is no longer there. In the episode Science Museum, we can see a painting beside Mrs. Rabbit. However, in the next frame, the painting is suddenly gone. In the same episode, Grampy Rabbit puts a chemistry flask with orange liquid down on the shelf. But seconds later, it's no longer there. In the episode Long Train Journey, we can see Daddy Cat sitting behind the pig family. When they finally arrive at their destination, Daddy Cat can be spotted in the crowd. How is that even possible? In the episode Dressing Up, George is digging up a lot of dirt and throws it on Peppa. The mistake is that the dirt just disappears as it falls down. In the episode Trampolines, when Miss Rabbit is talking to Peppa Pig's family and her friends, we can see that there is nothing on her desk. When she goes back, blue shoes magically appear on her desk. In the episode Daddy Puts Up a Picture, we can see a toolbox right behind George. A few frames later, the toolbox moves near Daddy Pig. When Daddy Pig hangs up the picture, the toolbox moves back to its original position. In the episode Mysteries, when George, Peppa, and Mommy Pig are in the kitchen, pay close attention to the magnets on the fridge. Here we can see a heart magnet. However, a few frames later, the heart magnet is gone, and only the shadow remains. In the episode Jelly, we see Mommy Pig typing on her computer. If we take a closer look at the keyboard, we can see that she's using the same keys repeatedly, but making different letters. In the same episode, Daddy Pig, Peppa, and George go to the supermarket. Notice how the vegetable racks are put in a way that is not reachable. In the episode Bedtime, we can see that the sun is on the right and not in the window, but then it suddenly appears when the scene zooms into the kitchen. Still in the same episode, Peppa and George are playing in the muddy puddles, but the mistake is that their clothes don't get dirty at all. In the episode Mummy Pig's Birthday, Mummy Pig's dress has sparkles on it. However, in the next frame, they disappear and then reappear out of nowhere. In Horsey Twinkle Toes, Peppa and George carry the package into the kitchen, and we see a recycle bin on the left. But when Peppa takes the toy out of the kitchen, watch how there are now recycle boxes instead of a bin. In the episode The Perfect Day, when Peppa and her family arrive at the mall, pay close attention to the position of the car. When they leave the mall and jump into the car, watch how the car's position suddenly changes. In the episode Pancakes, Peppa and George are stirring the pancake batter. The mistake is that the spoons didn't get dirty at all. In the episode Lost Keys, Daddy Pig loses the car keys down a very deep drain. They buy a fishing rod from Miss Rabbit so they can hook the keys out of the drain. Daddy Pig throws the fishing line down the drain, but there's a big problem. The fishing line is way too short. When Miss Rabbit throws a stone down the drain, you can hear a splashing sound, which means there is water at the bottom, right? When Mr. Bull and his crew arrive with a crane to get the keys out of the drain, there is no trace of water at the bottom. In the episode Sports Day, Peppa and Susie Sheep don't notice the race has started and get left behind due to their arguing. They only start running when Daddy Pig shouts out loud that the race has started, but it's sadly too late. Rebecca Rabbit takes the first place. As we can see, everyone is cheering her up, even Susie Sheep. The mistake is that when the scene switches, Peppa and Susie are still arguing on the racetrack, but we saw Susie between all the other students cheering for Rebecca. How is that even possible? In the episode School Project, we see a sink in the middle of the kitchen island. When Mummy and Daddy Pig build the cardboard castle, the kitchen sink is suddenly gone. Number 2. In the episode Muddy Puddles, when George gets off of his little seat, his neck seems to glitch from his body for a split second. Number 3. In the episode Baby Alexander, we see a board with 4 drawings on it. A few frames later, notice that the house drawing that was beside the castle drawing is suddenly gone. In the episode Miss Rabbit's Day Off, I want you to pay close attention to the colors of the ice cream. Watch how in the next scene, the order of the ice cream colors has changed. Number 2. In the episode Daddy Pig's Birthday, we can see a board full of calculations next to Daddy Pig. A few seconds later, when Daddy Rabbit passes the phone to Daddy Pig, the board is now suddenly right behind him. Number 3. In the episode Lunch, we can see that there are 2 tomatoes, a slice of cucumber, and a piece of salad on George's plate. But since George hates vegetables and doesn't want to eat them, how come there is suddenly 1 tomato left? In the episode Grampy Rabbit's Jetpack, we can see a speed limiter on this side of the jetpack. When the scene changes, the speed limiter is no longer there. In the episode School Camp, Peppa is wearing a purple backpack. When she starts to set up the tent with Susie Sheep, her backpack suddenly turns red. Another mistake can be found in the same episode. When Susie Sheep leaves her tent, she has a red torch in her hand. But when she arrives at Madame Gazelle's tent, watch how the color of the torch is now purple. In the episode Traffic Jam, Peppa and her family are stuck in the traffic. If we take a look at Miss Rabbit's car, we can see that her ears are sticking out of her car. Number 2. In the episode Richard Rabbit Comes to Play, in the scene where Susie Sheep enters the room, we can see a drawing of an elephant and a fairy close to the window. However, when the scene zooms out, the drawings are in a completely new position. In the episode The New House, Peppa is seen playing on a swing. However, a few frames later, when the Wolf family arrives, the swing is no longer there. Number 2. In the episode Skateboarding, Peppa is doing some amazing tricks on her skateboard. If we look closer at the stickers on her skateboard, we can see some smiley face stickers. When we pause and slow down the scene, watch how one of the stickers suddenly changes position. Number 3. In the episode Santa's Grotto, we can spot Zoe Zebra and Mummy Zebra. But wait, who's that on the Ferris wheel? Yep, that's right, Mummy Zebra and Zoe Zebra. For some reason, the animators decided to clone them. In the episode Tidying Up, when we look at Peppa's room, notice how small it is. However, when Daddy Pig enters and steps on a toy car, he starts sliding across the room. Notice how much bigger and longer the room is. Number 2. In the episode Once Upon a Time, Peppa reads a story to her little brother George. Behind George, we can see a cat drawing and a red toy car. A few frames later, the red toy car disappears out of nowhere. Number 3. In the episode Parachute Jump, we can see Mummy Pig, George, and Peppa in the kitchen. If we take a closer look at the fridge, notice that there are a few stickers. Take a look at the letters A and B. When the scene zooms out and zooms back in, the letter B is suddenly gone. In the episode Painting, George and Peppa are painting happy little trees. When Peppa dips her brush into the yellow paint, we can see it on her paintbrush. However, a few moments later, the paint on the brush disappears and reappears out of nowhere. Number 3. Another mistake can be found in the same episode. When Peppa puts the yellow paint on her hands and makes her handprint on the canvas, the position of the drawing is in the middle of the canvas. However, when the scene zooms out, it changes towards the upper part of the canvas. Number 4. In the episode Cleaning the Car, when George is washing the mud off the windows, we can see that there are 2 mud stains. George starts cleaning the front glass of the car, but when the scene zooms out, notice that the second mud stain is no longer there. Number 5. In the episode George's Friend, George is ready to build some crazy sand castles with Rebecca's younger brother. If we take a closer look at the scene, notice that each of them has a sand bucket. However, a few frames later, the buckets vanish from the scene without any explanation. In the episode The Fish Pond, in one of the scenes, George and Peppa have both an ice cream in their hands while they are walking to the pond. When Daddy Pig is talking to Miss Rabbit, the scene zooms in and then zooms out again. But wait, where did Peppa and George's ice cream go? It's impossible they have finished it in one bite. Number 2. In the episode Chloe's Puppet Show, Chloe Pig invites Peppa and George to come inside because she wants to show them something. When they are walking up the stairs, take a look at the door. Here we can see that the door handle is on the left side. However, at the beginning of the episode, the door handle was on the opposite side. Number 3. In the episode Super Potato, in the scene where Super Potato gets to Peppa's school to save Mr. Potato who is trapped in his car. Super Potato uses his incredible power to lift the glass lid off and save Mr. Potato. The mistake is that before the lid is completely raised, Mr. Potato's head glitches through as if the laws of physics took a day off. In this scene, Peppa and her squad are playing soccer. As we can see, 4 trees around them have fruits on them. But then, boom, mid-episode, the fruits just vanish like they've got better things to do, only to magically reappear as if nothing happened. Number 2. In the episode The Market, we can see that there is a lamppost between the apple and Mr. Bull's stall. However, when the camera zooms in, the lamppost is suddenly gone. Number 3. In the episode The Diner, we can see Peppa and George standing near a mic on a small stage. If we take a look at the crowd, we can see that there is an elephant. If we slow the scene down, you'll notice that his tusk disappears for a hot second and then reappears again out of nowhere. What kind of glitchy universe is this? Number 1. In the episode Trampolines, we can see that Susie is wearing blue-colored shoes. However, when she puts them out, notice how they are now purple instead of blue. Number 2. In the episode Mr. Skinnylegs, we can see a wall from the dollhouse behind Peppa. However, a few seconds later, it disappears out of nowhere. Number 3. During the episode Granny Sheep moves in, Mummy Sheep enters the room and picks up 3 cardboard boxes. Notice how the color of the box at the top changes when they reach the other room. In the episode Captain Daddy Pig, we can see that there is nothing at the back of the boat. However, a few frames later, a black cylinder appears out of nowhere. Number 2. In the same episode, we can see that there is nothing at the pole of the front of the ship. However, a few seconds later, a bell appears out of nowhere. Number 3. In the workshop scene in the episode Grandpa Pig's Computer, we can see a basket with tools on the shelf. However, a few frames later, the basket disappears out of nowhere. In the episode Sun, Sea, and Snow, when Mummy Pigs decides to go for a swim, we can see her taking off her clothes and leave them on the ground. However, a few frames later, her clothes are suddenly gone. Number 2. At the beginning of the episode Swimming, we can see a changing door with 4 colors. The colors from left to right are blue, green, yellow, and red. However, at the end of the episode, the colors are completely different. The colors are now red, yellow, green, and blue. Number 3. In the episode Ballet Lesson, we can see Danny Dog jumping his way towards the left side. However, a few seconds later, he appears on the right side of the screen. At the beginning of the episode The Great Barrier Reef, we see a barbecue grill by the front door. However, later in the episode, the barbecue grill is suddenly gone. Number 2. In the episode Grandpa Pig's Greenhouse, in the scene where Grandpa Pig is throwing the ball at Granddad Dog's greenhouse, we can see flower pots and a watering can. However, when Granddad Dog kicks the ball back, we can see that the flower pots and watering can have disappeared. In the episode Chloe's Puppet Show, we can see in this scene that there are 4 puppets inside the box. When Chloe pulls a puppet out of the box and starts painting its eyes, a few seconds later, the 4th puppet reappears again in the box. Number 2. In the same episode, when Chloe takes a puppet out of the box and paints it into a dinosaur as George wanted, we can see that 2 puppets are remaining in the box side by side. However, a few frames later, each of them move to one end of the box. Number 3. In the episode Daddy Pig's Birthday, in the scene where Mummy Pig pours all the cake batter into the cake pan, we can see that the bowl is completely empty. However, when Mummy Pig puts the cake in the oven, the bowl Peppa is holding is no longer empty. In one of the scenes from the episode The Playground, Daddy Pig goes up the slide but gets stuck after going down. Peppa and her friends use the slide to set Daddy Pig free. If we look at the order from left to right, Peppa comes first, followed by Susie, Danny Dog, Candy Cat, Rebecca, and Pedro. However, when they finally rescue Daddy Pig from the slide, Rebecca Rabbit is no longer there. When Peppa talks about her parents getting a playgroup star, the picture that Peppa made has a white background. When Peppa asks Daddy Pig if he did get a playgroup star or not, the picture that Peppa made has now a blue background. Number 2. When Daddy Pig returns home from work, he is wearing a white shirt and a tie, but a few seconds later, he miraculously changes into his casual home clothing, and there is no tie nor a white shirt.